Welcome to the Property Profits Real Estate Podcast, the show where real estate investors talk strategy, capital, deals, and growth with your host, Dave Dubeau.
Hey, folks, welcome back. We've had lots of guests on the show who started off with small deals and kind of gradually worked their way up into larger deals. Well, today's guest, zooming in from Miami, Florida, Alex Pardo, is kind of coming out of left field because Alex, for a long time, was focused on wholesaling. He was very, very good at that. He was doing that himself. He was showing other people how to do that. I think he had a whole podcast and the whole thing. He was rocking and rolling in the wholesaling world. And then he zigged, he zagged, and he jumped in with both feet in self-storage. So that's what encompassing him. And we're going to be talking about self-storage investing today with Alex Pardo. Welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Dave, thank you so much, man. I'm really looking forward to this. So I appreciate you having me on.
So going from wholesaling all the way over to self-storage facilities is a big, big leap. I mean, it's not, it's a big leap. So how did that happen, Pat? How did you make that jump?
Yeah, well, to your point, I didn't just wake up one day and I'm like, I'm going to shut down my entire wholesaling operation and I'm going to go pursue these garage doors. Look, I'll start here. I got into I got into real estate late 2005. And I did so, like I'm sure you, Dave, and many people listening and watching us.
It looks like you were probably 5 years old when you got into real estate then, Alex.
I don't know. These grays might disagree with you. Yeah,
I got more than you. I got more of those grays than you. But anyhow.
You almost probably got a lot more wisdom than I do as well. But no, look, I was 25 back in 2005 when I got started in real estate. And I got in because I wanted freedom. I wanted all the benefits that this awesome business can provide for us. And yet I ended up playing what I felt was the wrong game. Not because of the model, but I ended up playing a transactional game. And I got really, really good at wholesaling and not so good at fix and flip, although I've done my fair share of those. And I learned creative finance and short sales and dealing with banks and all that. So I really cut my teeth learning the residential game. But every single month I was starting from scratch. Yeah. And I did that for so many years. And I was fortunate to
Like how long did you do that for?
Well, I was a one-man show for the first 4 years that I was in business. Then I read one of these books behind me by Tim Ferriss, The 4 Hour Work Week, and hired a virtual assistant. And then that started my journey to start building a team so that I wasn't the one on the phone talking to sellers and dealing with buyers and all that. And so I built a team and we were wholesaling a lot of deals here in South Florida. Every single month we were wholesaling multiple deals. Fast forward to 2017, I remember we had a team of 7 or 8 at that time, and my overhead was starting to grow. My margins were starting to shrink. And I remember telling my wife, I'm like, this business has been great for us because it's been a cash generator. But I said, where are the assets? Where's the cash flow? Like I'm working for this money. It feels like a high paying job. And so we started building a rental portfolio, and I got up to about 5 of those, which is not very many by most people's standards, but it was enough for me to know that, yes, you can build wealth buying rentals. But and this might be a controversial hot take, in my experience, it's not a cash flow play to own a bunch of rentals. It's more about the depreciation and it's the appreciation. And so anyways, I didn't want to deal, Dave, with the tenants and the toilets. And all of a sudden I get a work order and my cash flow for the year's gone, And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And it's interesting that when you start to ask yourself certain questions, it's my belief that God starts to put certain people in your life. You ask yourself a certain question, you'll start to come up with better answers. And I happen to be coaching somebody who owned a storage facility. And then that opened up the door to another friend of mine.
So a student of yours owned a storage facility, but wanted to learn about wholesaling.
No, a student of mine was doing both. He was doing... He was primarily doing fix and flip, not wholesaling, but he had an opportunity to buy a storage facility. He did. And as you know, when you coach somebody, you get an inside look into the business, the P&L, what's working, what's not.
Yeah.
Anyways, it just opened my eyes to the asset class. And I incorrectly assumed, by the way, that whenever I graduated from residential, it was probably going to be multifamily. And then I started to really learn about self-storage as an asset class. And that's when I just went down an inch wide and a mile deep. I had decided in 2019 that I was going to unwind this operation that I had built that was chewing up about 45 grand a month in expenses. And yeah, I said we had a team of 9. And so 2019, I decided I'm going to start to unwind this. And when COVID came, it was just it was an accelerator. It gave me a reason to really quick start this process of unwinding it so that by June of 2020, I was completely out of the business.
Very, very cool. That's a fortuitous way to get into it. Looking over the shoulder of somebody you're working with very intimately, somebody who's going to open the books for you, work with you, because he was probably learning the whole self-storage.
Yeah, he was fumbling his way through it for sure.
Yeah. So that's wonderful. Then you see proof of concept with somebody else, and that kind of gives you the impetus there to take the reins and go for it. Okay, cool. So that's 6-ish years ago. Fast forward to today. What does real estate look like for Alex Pardo in 2026?
Yeah, look, right now I'm focused 100% on self-storage. So I'm a part owner of 4 storage facilities. Nice. About a year and a half ago, I sold 80,000 square feet of storage in Mississippi. And so I've been fortunate.
So for the rest of us that don't even know what that means, what does that represent, 80,000?
So that represents roughly 837 units across 2 storage facilities. So yeah, these were facilities I got one for 1.592 million, so just under 1.6. And I was able to successfully sell it for just under 2.5. Nice. And that was the plan all along. And then the other one I bought for 1.2, sold it for 1.99 to the same buyer. It was in the same market. And yeah, now I basically traded volume and scale for lower quantity, but better quality is what I've done. That's the way.
So over the last 6 years, how many different facilities have you been involved in altogether?
I've been involved in 7 different storage transactions over the last 5 years.
Last 5 years. Okay, cool.
Yep. Correct.
So currently got 4 on the go.
Okay.
You've sold a couple. Very, very cool. So
I've wholesaled some as well.
Okay. So you're kind of keeping your toes in the water there with the wholesaling business, just with self.
Yeah. The cool thing with storage is we have a very tight buy box. There's a very specific type of facility.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. What is the buy box and where are you buying?
Yeah, so I'm primarily focused on the southeast part of the country. I'm looking for mom and pop storage facilities that are in smaller tertiary markets.
Okay.
So we're looking, like I live in Miami and I've never spent 1 minute, Dave, looking for a storage facility in Miami. Yeah. The reason for that is the big REITs like Public Storage and Extra Space, they tend to dominate that market in the metro areas. And they're never going to go into the small 10,000 to 50,000 population cities. In storage, something that's very important for people to understand is that it's economics 101. We look for markets that are growing, that have strong demographics, where there's a strong demand for storage and there's not enough supply of net rentable square footage of storage. I've learned this, you can be an average operator, and if I put you in a market that is thirsty for storage, you're going to thrive. You can be an awesome operator, and I can put you in a rough market with with bad demographics, and you're going to struggle.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Hey there, if you're a capital raiser, a syndicator, or a fund manager, and you're looking for a steady flow of incoming accredited investor leads, then go ahead, grab a free copy of my new book, How to Get 20 Accredited Investor Meetings Every Month Without Cold Calling, Networking, or Chasing People. You can get that at 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com. Again, that's the number 20accreditedinvestorsbook.com.
So one part of the buy box is buying in tertiary markets that are growing, supply and demand being in your favor. Is there a specific buy box around the kind of facilities that you're looking for in those markets? What is that?
For sure. I tend to look for traditional drive up. And I also, like, one of my facilities has climate control, but generally speaking, traditional drive up storage. I like 20,000 to 50,000 net rentable square feet. And it's so interesting. I think it's Tony Robbins, I think, is the one that was quoted as saying, like, what you focus on expands.
Yeah.
When I transitioned into self-storage, Dave, I had this mindset and belief that it was going to be just as much time, energy, and effort to pursue a big deal as it was to work on a small one. And I actually had the belief that it was going to be easier to fund and finance the purchase of a bigger deal than it was a small one. And because I was focused on that, my first facility was 43,000 square feet.
Which means about how many units?
That was 340 units plus 17 parking spaces. So yeah, that was 8 buildings across 340 units.
Very nice. Very nice.
And so
for folks that aren't familiar with self-storage, Alex, without getting in the weeds too much, what are the big broad strokes for the benefits of this as an investment class?
Oh man, I could go on for a while, but I'll be brief. First, understand that storage is a business that has the benefits of real estate. Okay, so it's an actual business. My first deal, I got a loan from the Small Business Administration, and a lot of people don't know that. Number two, storage is a very sticky product. When so the average length of stay at my facilities is about 2 years.
Okay.
Think about the pain of disconnect. If you move your stuff into a 10 by 20, think about what it would take to move out. Not to mention the fees are anywhere between $50 and $350 a month. So it's a very sticky product, which means we can predict cash flow. The third that I would mention, and there's a lot, but the third I would mention is we get to force appreciation. Unlike in the residential space, where, as you know, values are determined by comparable sales. In storage and in commercial real estate, the value is determined by the income that the asset generates. So we have different levers we can pull, like raising rents or adding fee income, different kinds of fee income. And all of that has an exponential multiple on the value of the business. So we get to what we call force appreciation.
No, that makes sense. Plus, the other big benefits are, and instead of dealing with crappy tenants who are crapping a lot, you're dealing with people's crap. Taking up space.
You know what? I'm going to steal that one. I'll give you credit, but I've actually never heard that put quite that way, and I like it a lot. Yeah, we're not dealing with toilets. And like I said earlier, I'm not a great rehabber. I've done quite a few of them, but in storage, I mean, think about it. We literally rent space. It's a garage door. There's just not much to it.
Yeah. Plus you're in the southern states, so you're not too worried about, blizzards and snow and all that kind of stuff. So
exactly.
All right. That's making a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's your buy box. Those are the markets that you're looking at. Now, it's not all perfection. What are some of the downsides to self-storage?
Yeah, great question. The biggest headaches that I've experienced in self-storage is I bought in the wrong market, which meant it was a heavier operational lift. Now, what does that mean? I had to deal with break-ins on a pretty frequent basis, people cutting the fence, manipulating the gate operator, and then worst of all, taking sledgehammers to customers' doors and units. So now I'm dealing with customers that are obviously not pleased because their stuff was stolen and they feel violated. I'm having to do repairs now on doors because these people vandalized the units. Now, I don't want to scare anyone. That's been the most difficult thing that I've had to deal with in storage, but that's because
was that across all 7 facilities, or was that just one bad one?
2 facilities, same market. So I bought Jackson, Mississippi. And if you know anything about Jackson, Mississippi, the demographics are not in your favor. High crime, high homeless population. And I was in a D area. I bought in a D area, and I violated the first rule of real estate that my 9-year-old daughter could tell you, which is location, location, location.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you compare that to my facility in Amelia Island, which that's a very affluent market, I've owned it for over 3 years, 0 break-ins, not one.
Nice. Yeah. So hard lessons learned there. So making sure that you're buying in the right market and the right part of town for sure. Any other downsides to self-storage that you've discovered over the years?
I think the only other downside, and it's more of an inconvenience than anything, is that so it's important to mention that I run these facilities. I live in Miami and they're hundreds of miles away. I run them remotely. So we have a 3-pronged management system, which means I don't have any employees, and technology does a lot of the heavy lifting. Obviously, we know that technology can sometimes fail us. And so sometimes the gate operator will stop working. And then that means that we have to call a technician. We have to leave the gate open. Inconveniences, right? But nothing outside of the break-ins, nothing too crazy that we've ever really had to deal with.
Well, thanks for sharing what the other side looks like. And yeah, I mean,
Look,
compared to the 5 tenants you were dealing with in the single family homes, sounds like a cakewalk. Yeah.
a cakewalk. But look, I have a friend of ours in our community that owns a facility. Somebody was cooking meth in one of the units.
Oh, wow.
Half the building burned. Half the building. So he had to deal with some. Thank God I've never had to deal with something like that. But those are things that can happen. It's not super frequent, but it can happen. But so you got to make sure you have good insurance in place.
Yeah, exactly. Very good insurance, important for everything. So, Alex, we talked about what the buy box is. How do you typically structure your deals these days? Do you take them down solo? Do you work with partners? Do you syndicate? What does the financing look like?
I've done all the above minus syndications. I don't really syndicate the deals. I let the deal. I never like to box myself into a corner and say, hey, I have to do it this way. I let the deal and the seller situation determine what's the best way to structure it. I've done everything from raise 100% from a couple private lenders to work with equity partners that they provide the capital injection. They get a piece of the deal. I've gotten SBA financing. I've worked with small local banks to provide the financing. So, and then seller financing is probably my favorite way to buy these deals when I can get it, is turning the seller into the bank. And, I love creative financing, and I'll give the seller more times than not whatever price they want within reason, as long as they let me dictate the interest rate, the loan term, and the down payment.
Yeah, that's beauty. So one thing I'm sure you were amazing at in your wholesaling deals was shaking the tree and finding motivated sellers for single family homes. What of those skill sets have you brought over to self-storage, and is that helpful for finding deals, or what does that look like?
Either you did your research on me or you just know the right questions to ask, maybe a combination of both. But that's one thing I wish, Dave, that I knew when I made the transition, is I thought that because I was getting into a different asset class and because storage was a business, I thought incorrectly that I was going to have to learn all these new skill sets. What I was pleasantly surprised with is that from a marketing and lead generation, it's the same exact thing, literally the same exact thing. When it comes to the conversations with these mom and pop storage owners and brokers, I would argue that it's actually easier than with a motivated seller who's distressed for some reason. The nuance comes in how do you underwrite or analyze the deal, and then obviously the management and the operations side of it. But all the skill sets that I acquired in the residential space, marketing, lead gen, acquisitions, negotiating, all that, dispositions, it all translates over into self-storage.
And I would imagine, I could be wrong, but I would imagine that compared to the amount of time, effort, and expense that you had to go through to generate leads with wholesaling deals, it's a walk in the park compared, because these are businesses. They're advertising. You can find them. Like you can get easy lists with names and stuff.
To your point, it would take me 60 seconds or less if you give me any city and state for me to jump on Google Maps, click the little nearby button, type in self-storage, and all I have to do is pick up the phone and smile and dial. And in more times than not, I'm probably connecting with the owner of that business.
Exactly. Such a difference. So different. Well, that is cool. So Alex, you're doing all sorts of things for folks that are interested in self-storage. You've got a podcast around this. You've got a community around this. As we're wrapping up, maybe tell me who are the kind of people you're looking to connect with these days in 2026?
Yeah, look, I'm looking for people. Oftentimes the ones that come to me, Dave, are the ones that are working a 9 to 5, but they want more out of life. They want to generate cash flow. They want to build long-term wealth, and they see real estate as a way to do it. And I'm also connecting with people in the real estate investing space that are kind of tired of single families, and they want to add and diversify and do something different with their portfolio. And so really the people that we serve are those that are serious about self-storage and want to buy their first facility. Everything that we do inside of our community is designed, focused around the outcome, which is giving people everything they need to be able to buy the right storage facility within a 3 to 9 month period.
Very good. So if people want to find out more and connect with you, Alex, where should they go?
Yeah, head over to storagewins.com, storagewins.com. There's a free resource for you there. All you got to do is put your email in. It's a tool that we use to analyze and evaluate these storage deals in minutes. So you can just go ahead and opt in and get that for free. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing your story. Congratulations on translating that skill set that you spent decades building in single family homes and taking that over to self-storage and just really hitting the ground running.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
All right, everybody, take care, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Property Profits Podcast. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, apply at daveinterviews.com.